Perfect. Okay. Is my screen visible to you guys?
Yes, Sumit, we
Yes.
can see.
Yes, Sumit.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. So yes, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for joining. Maybe I guess we are on session number 4 today. Okay. Let's just go through a bit of a recap of what we did in the last session, and then maybe we'll have any doubts, any queries you guys do have. Maybe we can just discuss on that, and maybe then we'll just get started with the new things. Okay, so in the last session, what we primarily understood was that when it comes to a wrap BO, okay, we might have different artifacts. Okay, so as a part of which we tried understanding the VDM concept, we tried creating a set of views that we do have, and we understood that while we are working on the wrap, there are certain kind of views that we would be creating. Certain would be reusable, like we do have a interface views, like we see over here interface. Okay, I'll just close everything. Uh, I booking, or maybe we can have something called I travel as well, which may be, let's just say, something relevant to travel relevant data. But anything which is something we call it as an interface are going to be a reusable view. Okay, so it means if I want, I can use it at multiple places, and that's the reason we'll always define it as a view entity and not as a root. Okay, because they are not part of the business object, but still they are being consumed in one or another way, but they are kind of reusable. Okay, they can fit it anywhere you want. Second one we understood is that after we have a set of interface views defined, which are ideally encapsulating your set of data that you do have in a set of let's just say travel data, for example, we have to create a application specific view. In terms of application specific view, understood we have a uh, let's just say R views and C views. Okay. Now, when it comes to R views and C views, we also understood R is some sort of a wrap application view. C is nothing but that makes sense when you are going with a consumption. Okay. Now, when we define R view, we ideally define what is the role of that particular set of data in my business object, whether that's going to be a root, whether that's going to be a let's just say a child of it, whether it's going to be a parent in some or another way in any of the existing view. So here in the root view, what you would see is we are having some data source. At the same point in time, we are defining what this data source in a nutshell will be composed of. So for example, it will have a actual, I can say primary data source plus the composition from where it can also plan to get the data. Then we have added some composition and association. So composition build the strict relation saying I should always create the entry first onto my table, which is my primary data source. Then only any new record can be created into this one, which is relevant to this particular record. Okay, independently, I cannot go vice versa. If I am going via the wrap BO that I am designing, definitely, I guess anyone can go ahead and write an insert and modify statement. That's a separate story, but ideally, that should not be a best. That's not a best practice. But yeah, as per BO design, that's not possible. Then afterward, we expose this. We call this view as a projection view. Now, why projection? Because unlike in other view, in your I view or R view, where you used to write select from, here we ideally specify a projection on. Because here we are not selecting the data, we are just projecting whatever we have done so far. Okay, from here. That's why we call it as a projection view. Now, in R view, we ideally specify composition and all on the top. On consumption or projection view, we ideally specify the redirection. After all this has been done, we expose the scope of our service in the terms of business service, business, uh, be it a service definition or a service binding. After doing that, what we'll do is we'll define if I would like to have some transactional behavior. Now, in order for us to have the transactional behavior, we will define a behaviors, so-called behavior definition and behavior projection. Now, behavior definition and projection are ideally defined on your root view. Okay, or I can say they can only be defined on top of your root view. So these are my R view, which is something I call it as a root view. Here we define, let's just say a chunk called define behavior for. For each of the node, we define this particular behavior. Here we'll define what kind of activities they can perform, what are the fields, whether I want those fields to be read only or they can still be updated during my creation mode and I don't want them to be updated during update or I want them to be always available. That's what we can call it as a static field control. That's what we also understood. Then in case I have a table where I have given n number of aliases till the time my properties final reach to the R view, I may not, or I can say system may not be able to figure out if I get a data in my agency ID where I should push that to. Okay, and that's where we call it as, that's why we are supposed to do some sort of a mapping on any of the data source that you specify over here, maybe this persistent table. That's where you have to do the mapping, saying this particular agency ID over here has to be pushed to agency underscore ID whenever someone is trying to create a record. That's why we specify a mapping. Okay, and same goes over here. The only difference you will see in the root and a non-root behavior part over here is that here you will have a capability of a direct creation. It means I can trigger a post call on this and I can create a record for this. But when it comes to your child node, you can only create the data with the help of an association, like you see over here, association booking, and you can only create it by this. You cannot directly trigger a post call. If you do that, system will say that, okay, this is not possible. Your service is not capable of handling direct create call on your booking entity. That's what it will say. Now, if I just go in this particular C view, which is a consumption view, here what I see is in this particular one, I'll always expose the thing which I would like to be available for my end user, or I can say for my service consumption perspective to be used. On the definition layer, I would have specified, hey, I would like to have, let's just say, create, update, delete functionality. But while exposing, I'll say, no, I don't want to give update functionality. If you disable this, or I can say, if you don't use this keyword use over here, this capability won't be exposed. That's the meaning of your behavior projection. You are projecting the capabilities in your behavior projection, whereas in your projection views, you are exposing, or I can say, projecting the set of fields or the attributes that you are willing to expose. Okay, that's a simple one. Another thing is when it comes to some sort of a work which is being done, there are pretty good chances that some work might get lost just because of some sort of a unwanted, or I can say intermediate interruption. Okay, that might occur. In order for us to handle that, we have to go with so-called draft capability. For that, we'll add a with draft. The moment you do that, you will specify one more persistency over here called draft table. And then you can specify a draft actions, because this is something which is mandatory standard actions, which says that, okay, I would like to have a edit action getting triggered the moment someone tries to go in edit mode of an existing record. If someone tries to start working on an existing draft, they can expect a call to get triggered on a resume. If someone tries to persist the data, finally activate call will get triggered. And if someone says that, hey, whatever work I have done, I don't want it any longer, just discard and let's just reset the data in an earlier state, I'll just expect a discard call to get triggered. Okay, that's the purpose of it. They are auto-generated, auto-executed methods during the life cycle of your draft. In case we might need to do something extra during those particular point in execution, we can have some additional implementation. We'll see how we can do that. Here, we have to expose them as a use action. And maybe I guess that's all we learned during the earlier session. Anyone has any doubt, any question so far? Okay, what I'll do meanwhile is we consume our service also in the Fury. So I'll just simply try to have a preview of it so we know how my application is looking like. Okay, seems we all are good. No doubts yet. Okay, good. I'll just try to have a look at the application, how it is looking so far, and maybe we'll then just get started. Okay, so what we can see over here is maybe we can have some sort of a data. I can see that, okay, there is some sort of a draft created over here on my item number 1. Okay, now I'll just go in descending, and what I can also see is that I created a record to 4136. If I just go back over here, I can see that I have a draft. It means what would have happened is, let's just go in a bit of a flashback saying I'll just delete this particular draft. I don't need it, for example. Okay, I'll just, okay, there was something which someone also persisted. That's also very, okay, Jan 23. Okay, maybe I guess I'll just delete this. Okay, I'll just try to, for example, go ahead and view the draft record that's existing. I'll just discard this because we would like to understand it from the scratch. Okay, what had happened? Okay, maybe there is some data inconsistency not allowing me. No, it's just leave it. Okay, now what is something that ultimately, okay, now when I say I will create a record, I might click on create, right? Now the moment I click on create, what would happen is I can expect that this particular travel ID should be editable in the creation mode. But what we understood is, or I can say what I can see is that it's in a read-only mode. Not a good idea, right? Because here we see that it's read-only update. Till the time I don't have any logic, I was expecting that it will at least allow me passing this particular data, but it's not. Okay. So going forward, let's just say the moment I save this particular record, I'll be pretty much stuck because I don't have a way to enter a particular data for my primary key, which is a travel ID, how my user will be able to correlate to it. I'll just go over here in my draft table and I'll also try to view the data that has been created. What I see over here is that there is this particular one which is into draft plus this 0 which is also in some sort of a draft mode over here. Okay. Now, for example, I am a user, right? I am a user. I created a record. I am working on it partially. Okay. And maybe I would have entered some sort of a data like this. And I'll just simply say, hey, please keep this draft. I'll be back in some time. Okay. So I can see that this draft is available. By the time I have not decided what to do with this, I can see that certain information which I entered are available on draft table. But one other user just came in and he say, hey, I would also like to create one travel. Okay. And he would like to start working on it. He may or may not leave the work in between, but as they want to, I mean, as he or she also want to add some sort of a data, work on, create some travel, he'll click on create. The moment someone clicks on create, like we see over here, a new entry is going to get created. Now, this is a draft table. So forget about the kind of table it is. It is just a table which has got two keys. One, I can say some sort of a client ID. Another one is called travel ID. Other than that, there are no key parameters. Okay. So as this is an integer, or I can say this is a number, my travel ID is 0 is also a valid number. Next time, if someone try to clicks on create, this particular 0 over here already exists. So what would happen? If I have an existing draft, will anyone else will be able to go ahead and work on this? Go ahead and create this. I'll just click on this create right now. And you see the key value is already in use. Please enter a different one. Now, why this is happening? Because system is trying to create some sort of a record over here, which is with ID 0 because I don't have a way to enter any other key right now because I was never prompted for. And now I am stuck because I cannot create a new record because this 0 has already been occupied. So till the time someone does not go and either persist this with a new number or does not, let's just say, delete this draft, no one else will be able to use this application. It means at a time only one user can work on this, which is not at all good idea, right? So what we do have in order for us to overcome this limitation. Okay. So what happens is when you say that I have an application where, um, okay, someone has to say something. Okay. Okay. So in this particular case, as we would like to have some sort of a unique identity of the record getting unique identity of the record created before even the data reaches my draft table, we would go with some sort of a numbering concept. So in wrap, what happens is, okay, in wrap, what happens is when I say I am trying to work on some sort of a BO, internally I am working on some sort of a data. Okay, and now in this data I can have some sort of a tables associated where this data would be lying, and these tables can have some sort of a key parameters. Now this key value over here should be populated. But what happens is when you are going with this particular any of the application, the normal term says that key record, the key primary key of it should not be changed, should not be altered. But the moment you create a draft table, the key, or I can say the record has already been created into the draft the moment you click on create. Okay, it means we'll need some way out so that the moment you say that I would like to create a record, the key should also be generated very early into the stage. That's what we can call it as a early numbering. It means the moment someone says, hey, I would like to go ahead and create a record, before even my record goes and sits into my draft table, a number should be assigned to it, and which should be very unique in itself by following whatever algorithm we would like to, be it let's just say a number range, or be it let's just say some sort of algorithm which says, okay, what is the next number which is available, so on and so forth. Okay, but at the very early stage, if I can have a numbers assigned, okay, then what would happen is the moment I say, hey, create a travel, rather than assigning a 0, I can expect someone would assign, let's just say 4137, and that's the number that will be available over here in my draft table. So going forward, if another person goes and say, hey, I would like to also create a travel, the number that would be assigned to it will be 4138, and this particular 4138 will also be unique, and because of that, I can have n number of different travel available at the same point in time, and multiple users can work. That's what we can call it as a early numbering. There is one more alternative to it called late numbering. Now, what happens in late numbering is that, like we have a number generation, like we have the key generation, which is happening at quite early stage. In case of a late numbering, number assignment will happen quite late into the stage. When I say quite early, it means during initial record creation into draft table, before even it appears on user screen. But when I say during late numbering, I can say it will happen during the click of a save button, or I can say during the final save. At this point in time, system will go ahead and determine a new number, then assign to it. Okay, that's what we can call it as a late numbering. So till the time a number has not been assigned, system will give some sort of a temporary number, some sort of a temporary number. I can say temporary unique number will be assigned to the record till the time number has not been generated. Okay, so these are the two ways of generating a number and assigning it to the record. So I can say when a number should be generated, I'll just say during initial record creation, when someone clicks on create and before even the record appears on the user screen, then I'll go with the early numbering. If my number is going to get generated, or I can say I want the number to be generated on click of a save, then I'll go with a late numbering. Now, if you correlate, you might see that late numbering, when it will come into picture. Okay, so for example, whenever I have a number range based logic, okay, or something which should, the request of it would be that there should not be a gap in between the numbers. Okay, then I should go with a late numbering. Okay, because late numbering will ensure that till the time user has not finalized that, okay, this is the record I would like to save it, a new number won't get assigned. Okay, so for example, if you consider a purchase order, I'll say I have a purchase order 4023001, for example, and someone, let's just say, saves this particular record. Another purchase order that should get created should be 423002. There should not be a gap in between. Plus, I have a user who is working on an application, for example, manage purchase order. The moment they click on create, they enter the thousands of data, and the moment they click on save, then only my number should be determined. Then I can go with a late numbering. But let's just say many a time it happens that before even I save the record. So for example, many a time in some sort of a ticketing tool, right? The moment say, hey, I would like to generate a ticket for my problem, and maybe that particular ticket, the moment you click on create a ticket, system will show you then and then, okay, this is your ticket number, and you are now entering the data for that. Assign before even you enter the details. Then at that point in time, it makes sense for you to go with the early numbering. It totally depends on your business use case. Let's just go with this, and let's just go with, let's just say, early numbering first to understand how this can be implemented and how, let's just say, numbers will be generated. What are the changes that would happen in the life cycle? I'll just delete this one right now, so I can have some valid set of data over here. I'll just refresh this. So I don't have this record anymore. Now, let's just say if I would like to create a record, okay, in an early numbering form, what I'll do is I'll just simply say that I would like the system to generate the number quite early. So on this define behavior block, on the header level, you will define a keyword called early numbering. Now, the moment you do this, the moment you say, hey, I would like to go with a early numbering, you will see that your create operation over here has got a warning saying early numbering. So it needs a method for creation, and which is not implemented over here. I'll say, okay, then can you please generate it? I'll press Control and 1, and I'll just double click on the warning, and it will generate the method. So we have generated our first method over here. So now we are working on to an ABAP layer. Okay, now let me just save and activate both the things. Now you see the signature of the method. Okay, it says early numbering create for numbering. Okay, the purpose of this method, so each method will have the signature. It will have the keyword methods, the name of it, and what is the purpose. So for example, this method was for instance authorization. This method was for numbering. Okay, what is the thing that it takes into input? I'll just say importing. It has entities as an input. And what is the purpose of, let's just say, what are the operations into which this gets triggered? I'll just say during the create operation of a travel, this will get triggered. Okay. Now you see, I have also got a warning over here. Now, why would it would have been happened? I mean, it's a warning. I can avoid it, but just for you to understand that here it says for create travel, and here it says for and the name of the entity. Right? Why is that the case? Because this class was generated even before we gave any alias to this. That's the reason system picked this one. But as we have an alias, it makes sense for us to go with an alias. So I can just simply go ahead and add a travel over here rather than a technical key. Okay, so now I have this particular method, and now I have behavior. Now I'll just activate both of this at the same point in time. So I got a method. Okay, I don't have any logic residing in as a part of it yet. Okay, now let's just understand the methods, the signature of it, the thing that it contains, and the role of in each of the things. Okay, for example, this early numbering create. Each time you would like to know that, okay, what are the input parameter it can have, what are the output parameter, and what I am supposed to do within this method. What you can do is you can put a cursor on the method. I have a view open over here, ABAP element info, but if you don't have, click on this window, show view. Okay, in the others, you will go over here, click on this ABAP element info, and click on open. The moment you do that, system will ultimately show you this view. Now, what you can do is put cursor on any of the things, and it will show you the detail. For example, this is a method. I'll click put a cursor on this method. It will show me the detail of this. I'll put a cursor on my class. It will show me the detail of the class. Okay. Likewise, it will show me the detail of each and everything that I am trying to look for. It's giving me info of an ABAP element. Now, this method early numbering create has got an importing parameter, has got 3 changing parameter. So it means I will get something into the input whenever whenever this method is going to get executed. Okay. Now, so what I'll do is that I'll understand. Okay, when I say I'm getting this input, what are the things that it can contain? I'll just click on this derived type. You see, it's saying that you are getting a percentage CID, which is nothing but some sort of a content ID. Content ID, it means a unique identity for a record. Let me just give you an idea. By the time you get some control over here, you won't have any identity of the record, right? And it's a type table. It means there can be one record or there can be 1,000 record. If you're expecting some sort of a mass processing also, if it's also being done, then I can have 1,000 record at the same point in time. Out of those 1,000 record, you might generate some number, assign some number to someone. Okay, how would the system know which number is for which record? Okay, so what system will do is system has generated a ID in itself saying percentage CID, which gives the content an ID. So if I have 1,000 record, each 1,000 record will have a different CID. Okay, and this CID is something that you are supposed to return this. This is an input, right? What is the output? In the map. So in the output map parameter, you are supposed to return the primary key generated primary key that you are doing. Okay, so I'll just simply say mapped, and if you just click on this map, you will see that okay, for the travel you are doing this. So I'll just go in the travel again. You see it's responding with a percentage CID is draft, which means whether my record is in draft or not in draft, and the travel ID that you are generating. So these are the two things that you will get into the input. There is a third thing that you will generate by yourself, and there is a combination that you are supposed to respond with. The moment you do that, the same set of a number you can expect to appear on UI. Okay, so how I can believe that okay, that's how it is going to work. Okay, let's just go step by step. I'll put a breakpoint on this. Okay, and now what I'll do is I'll just go over here and click on create. Okay, now you see it says that okay, there is a debugger which is going to get triggered. I'll just click on switch, so it triggers it switch me to the debugger perspective. Now you see there are certain variables, there are certain values of it. Okay, and the variables that we are looking for, you can find it in the locals, right? What are the local variables? I'll just say entities. What does it have? So in the entities, if I expand this or I double click on this, you see in the table below, it has got a row number. There is a percentage CID. There is a random generated ID. Whether it says is draft 01 says that yeah, record is going to be in a draft mode for now. Then the record which are quite empty because currently there are no data. User never interacted with this. Okay, and this is the particular thing that you are getting in the input. Now, if I check the other one, which is nothing but my map parameter that I'm supposed to fill, I click on this travel. You see it is quite empty. Now it has got a percentage CID also, and it has got a is draft as well. And that's the same thing that we got over here. So we are supposed to pass this one and this one in the response. Plus this is a 0. So we are supposed to respond back with a right number in the return over here. Okay. The moment you do that, you can expect that that particular number is going to get let's just say that number is going to be used whenever a final let's just say record is going to get saved in your draft table. Okay, I'll see. I'll show you how. I'll execute this. Okay, and I'll just go back. And if you would like to deactivate debugger for time being, you can click on this as well. Skip all breakpoints. Okay, it got timed out. I'll just refresh. Okay, I don't have any draft, which is good. Okay, so this is the only one, so which is quite better. Now what I'll do is I'll just go over here and I'll say, hey, I would like to return the data over here in map parameter. Okay, so let's just write the logic in a layman term first. I'll just simply say I would like to populate mapped with some unique number. I'll just simply say mapped over here, and the travel of it, I am trying to populate it. Now, what is going to be the reference? What is going to be the input parameter for me? I can say the input parameter for me, it's going to be, let's just say, I'll just go over here and say the entities. So I'll just iterate on this entity. I'll just simply say value hash. I'll just simply iterate on this. So I'll just say for ls entities in entities, and I'll iterate on this like this. Okay. So I'm iterating on this. Now, the moment I'm doing this, my expectation over here is that I would ultimately pass some unique number. What are the things that I can expect from entities to come? I'll just simply say, for example, percentage CID. Pass it from the percentage CA entities. Whatever you are getting, pass it in the response. I'll just simply say CID. Another one was is draft. So I'll just simply say is draft as well. Okay. So I'll just simply say ls entities and is draft as well. What is the third thing? The travel ID, the important one. Okay. So I'll just simply say travel ID over here. Now, what is something I should be passing over here? Let's just see what is a unique number. Let's just try to bet on it from, let's just say for time being, manually. I'll just simply go over here. In the descending, there is 4136. Let me just say 4140. Okay, with some gap. So this is going to be a unique number, right? So I have not written any logic. Now this 4140 is a random number which I am picking, but that's a unique. I know. I have just looked at in the application. So if this works, we can get the source for 4140. We can write some logic. We can write some algorithm using which I can derive this 4140 from somewhere, right? Maybe I can derive the maximum number available. I can have some number range. I can have n number of I can have n number of ways depending on the kind of business requirement I do have. But in a nutshell, purpose and the use case and the way we'll be using early numbering is to assign a unique number. Okay, I'll just simply activate this. And next thing we'll see, okay, how it's going to work. I'll just go over here and I'll just simply click on ascending. Okay, now I'll just click on create. You see a 4140 just got over here because that's the one that we just passed from my early numbering create. Okay, because now my system knows that, okay, there is a number that I am supposed to add, and let's just say give to any new record. Now it's not only sitting on my application, right? If I just go over here, try to refresh this, the draft table which was ultimately created with 00 number, now it just got created with 4140. So there is a number that will get persisted finally into the DB table if I say that, okay, there is the particular record, there is a particular record which my user has confirmed to be activated. Okay, so maybe let's just try to discard this and try to write some a bit of a real logic, so we know we are not messing up with the things. Those um, should be written in a genuine way. Okay, so what I'll do is I am supposed to get some maximum number. Okay, so I'll write some logic saying get the maximum number, get maximum number. Maybe I'll just simply would like to get the maximum number, so I'll just simply say select maximum from my LV. Maybe what would be the field name? So what is the view over here? This is the one. I'll just say this one. And what is the maximum value of the travel ID, right? We are trying to get the maximum value of my travel ID over here. I'll just go in this class. So I'll say get the maximum value of a travel ID from what? So from this view. Try to get the data from view. You can write a query on table as well. If you don't have a view, that's not an issue. It's a normal ABAP. But system, I mean, ideal use case says that if you're going with a view, the execution will be a bit faster, maybe in microseconds or something, but comparatively views are faster than tables. Okay, I'll just simply say into and maybe some sort of a data into which I would like to get this. Okay, I'll just simply say LV max travel ID. Okay, it could also be possible that, right, I may have some maximum travel ID in draft in a real table, which is nothing but, for example, 4137. Okay, I can say 4136. So I can derive 4136, but at the same point in time, there are three drafts which exist. So the maximum number may also be available on my draft table. So some maximum number would also have been assigned to some other user. So I can say I would like to get some max number from draft data as well. So I don't want to take any risk over here. So I would like to ultimately go ahead and get this particular record from my draft table as well. Copy this. And maybe I'll simply say that this time the maximum record I'll get is from this particular draft table. And this time I'll just call it as a draft ID, for example. So there is a maximum draft ID. Now I would like to give a new number. Okay, so for example, I'll just simply use the same variable. Let's just use the same variable. I can say determine the new number and assign. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just simply write, for example, let me just use this variable. So I'll just simply say LV max travel number. And here I'll say that if my one number is maximum, whatever number is maximum, I would like to increment it, as simple as that, right? So I'll just simply say when my LV max travel ID over here. Oh, there is a draft ID. Okay, if draft ID is greater than LV max travel ID, then the idea is the draft is maximum. So I'll just go ahead and assign a new one, which is draft ID plus one. But okay, maybe I have to go here. If this is not the case, then I'll just simply say else. Maybe LV max travel ID plus one. So whatever is maximum, I'll add a new plus one, and I'll just add that particular number over here. So I'll just simply say, for example, LV max travel ID over here. Okay, so I am getting a maximum number, and I'm just passing it over here. Okay, so I'll just activate this for now. Okay, now let's just say I'll just go over here. I'll just simply go over here as well, and I'll just try to, for example, duplicate this. So I have two different screen onto which I can work. That's the only idea. Just to show you two different users. So for example, on the left hand side, the one which is working is user number one. Here it is the one which is working is user number two. So if I just simply click on create this time, 4137 just got assigned. But if I just go over here and click on create, 4138 just got assigned, because at this point in time, the moment my user says that, okay, I would like to get the new number, 4137 was already occupied, and hence 4138 was the one which was ultimately granted to the other user. Okay, now let's see at what all point in time I can expect this to happen. So I'll just, in order for us to take the real precautionary measure, I would just simply go ahead and try to put a breakpoint over here. And we'll just simply activate all the breakpoints. And now let's just say I'm changing something. So for example, I'll just simply say 234. Okay, my draft got updated. So there are certain things which are going on, which is good. So now let's just say same goes over here. I don't have any issues because I don't got any backend calls. For example, here as well, I'll just say 234, 345, and maybe I'll just say I'm passing date for today, tomorrow, and maybe I'll just say some sort of a 1 and maybe some USD. Okay, and I'll just say sample travel, and I'll just say these open. Okay, so these are the things which I just entered, and maybe I guess in some point in time draft is also going to get updated. I'll click on create. Now that was a early numbering. My expectation was that that method will only kick in the moment I create the record. But what's happening is that at the last moment as well, system gives you a chance whether you would like to have something over here. That's the reason it ultimately gives you a call over here as well. But this time, if I just go over here in local and try to view my entities over here, it has got the record, right? 4137 is also a number which is assigned. So should I be altering this number? Not really, right? I should not touch the number if it already exists. If the number is not there, then it really makes sense for me to actually go ahead and manipulate it. Okay, so if I allow this logic to get executed, what would happen is if I just say F6, F6, and I'll just get a new travel ID over here, 4139, and it will keep going, right? I mean, after I create, maybe next time I click on save, a number is going to get change and change and change. I don't want to, I don't want that to happen. So what I'll do is in a map, definitely I'm supposed to pass a travel ID. But if I have a travel ID, let's just try to refrain from generating a new ID, rather pass the ID that exists. Okay, that's the one that you can try out. So what we'll do in this particular case is let's just stop this execution. For now, it might just give a error for some time, but I'll just go back and I'll just switch back to my ABAPer mode. Okay, and here I would try to create a particular table which ultimately might give me some record saying, okay, if I have any record, okay, where my travel ID is not there, then only I'll get the maximum number. But if I have all the records with the travel ID, then there is no need for me to do that, right? So what I'll do is I would try to create some record. Okay, so let's just say in this one, I have a variable over here called type table for create. Okay, let's just try to create a variable with the same type. I'll just copy this definition from here. I'll just simply say in this data, I would like to get the record which are for creation table for, okay, I'll just say LT travel which are for creation. Okay, and I'll just add this. So what does it mean is that I have got the same table. I have got a table with the same type. Now here, I'll just say filter and get the records where travel ID has not been generated yet. Okay, so I'll just simply say this particular travel ID over here, I'll assign all this particular record where I'll just simply say value hash for ls entity in, for example, entities. And here I'll just simply put a condition, maybe as some sort of a where condition, saying that if I have a travel ID which is not assigned, so if my travel ID is initial, okay, then only go ahead and pass this record into my output. So I'll just simply say maybe ls entity. Okay, so what the system will do is for all the record where travel ID has not been assigned, I'll ultimately expect this particular thing to be passed. So for that to happen, what I'll do is I'll just simply go over here and I'll say if I have any record where my travel ID is not there. So I'll just say if this particular travel ID, if this particular table which contains the record where travel ID is initial, I have got any record over there, it means there is at least one record where the travel ID has not been determined yet. Only in that case, I'll go ahead and determine the new number. Otherwise, it does not make sense for me to go ahead and determine a new number. Okay, yet I am expected to pass, let's just say, uh, the record over here into the output with the right term in the travel ID. So what I'll do is I'll just simply say that in this particular case, if I have got a record where the travel ID has already been passed, then I won't alter it. Rather, I'll pass the one which I just got. So I'll just simply say when my ls entities, oh, my bad, there should be a condition, right? So I'll just simply say condition when my ls entities over here dash, for example, travel ID, okay, is initial. If I have got the travel ID which is initial, then I'll go over here and I'll just pass the new travel ID that I have determined. But if my travel ID was not initial in that case, then I'll pass whatever I have got. I won't alter it. I won't determine new travel ID. I won't execute anything else. Okay, that's what you are supposed to do. So now I'll just create this. I can say I will just activate this. Okay, Okay, do we have we got any draft yet? Okay, now let me just try to. Okay, now either we can plan to save this as well. Okay, now do we have any breakpoints? Yeah, I think we have. I'll just click on create. Okay, I got the debugger as well. Okay, so here we see that this LT travel creation was initial, so new number did not got determined. I have this LT travel, LV max travel, which is initial. But when I go in this map travel, which is currently an empty, the moment I press F6, you see the existing travel number was assigned, and I'll just save, execute this, so it will get saved, and I see a number getting generated over here, which is the correct one. Okay, so my system is now able to get this particular set of information with the right set of data without us doing anything. Okay, so at this point in time, definitely what just happened is my system figured out that, okay, the record got persisted, and that's the reason it discarded that particular draft. The draft is no longer available. For this one, 4138, if someone, let's just say, tries to save something, for example, 345, let's just say tomorrow, and maybe let's just say the day after tomorrow, maybe I'll just say 30, for example, and 20 and 30 and USD, and maybe uh, new travel with, let's just say, approved, and I'll just simply say create. This system will also try to assign a number to it. I'll just execute this. Can switch back, and for now, let's just deactivate the debugger as well. But let's see, the record just got vanished from my draft table. I have a new travel getting created over here as well. I can go back, and next time if you say I would like to create a new one, my 4139 will get assigned. Thanks to the early numbering, because I know that my record is going to have the data populated to it quite early into the stage. Make sense? Anyone has any doubt on the purpose and the implementation of an early numbering? No, yes.
Sumit, you're telling is
Yes,
early number is nothing but a kind of PBO on PI, right? It's a PBO. It's early numbering is nothing but the PBO, kind of,
exactly. Yeah.
right? But
Anything that appears before output, you are
yeah,
trying
yeah,
to do. Yeah,
yeah. In
correct.
the but letter numbering, you are telling that it will create a temporary number, right?
Yeah, correct.
When how many say example simultaneously multiple users are creating, so the background it will create a temporary number. Is it right?
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we are, I mean, after this early numbering, we are going to understand the late numbering as well. So yeah, your question is valid. That early numbering, like we see, before even the data appeared on the screen, we have the numbers decided, and that's the reason screen just started showing it. But in case of a late numbering, system won't know what is the number that's going to get assigned till the time user finally say, hey, save this data. Because only
Yeah.
at that point in time, a number is going to get assigned.
But after you create again, why it is triggering that early numbering? Because the moment
So
you
system gives you an opportunity. What happens is a wrap has been designed in a generic way. Okay, so the framework has been designed in a way that, for example, you would have assigned a number right over here, but then you might also would like to relook at the things that you would have assigned. So, for example, it would happen that the moment I created a record, there were three drafts which were open. That's the reason some old number, some maximum number was different. For example, 3 was the maximum number. The moment I click on save, 2 and 3 got discarded. So 1 is the maximum number. So now you can occupy 2. So if your business requirement is also to ensure the continuity of the data, then before even you save, you would like to have an opportunity where you can relook at the decision that you have made of assigning a number. If you try to reassign a new number over here, then that number will be considered. So you can do that, which ideally no one does in case they are going in the case of early numbering, but RAP has got that capability. If you would like to revisit and assign a new number, you can do that in that particular case. Getting my point?
yeah, basically you are altering the key value, is it right?
Exactly, yeah.
But it
You're
is
getting
as
an
per the RDB UMS, we should not change any key values, right? That's what.
at the point in time after the record has been saved, you should not be. But if you visualize, what's happening is the moment you say I created a record over here, the moment you click on save, record is going to get vanished from draft table, and for the very first time it's going to get placed in your real table. At that point in time, your actual table will not have any clue, will not have the data persisted. So for my real table, that's the first time where you are actually trying to place the data over there. So at that point in time, you are not altering a key value. You are placing the record with the final key value that you have finalized very late into the phase. Even though it's a late numbering, system is giving you the opportunity for the very last time. So once you say that, okay, I have called it as a 3, but now while saving, I realize that it could have been a number 2 as well. So now if you pass number 2, that is going to get placed into what? Into your persistent table, which is this one. Now, once the record gets placed over here, next time you don't have an opportunity to change it because that's going to go and sit into the primary key of the table. So you are getting that opportunity twice.
Okay, got it. Okay, basically you are trying to say is you can play around with the temporary key. Then once after, based on your business requirement, you want to alter or not, then this logic will work. Then it will go to the persistent table. Is it right?
Exactly, yeah. And once it's into persistent table, you won't have an opportunity to change that number again. Okay, perfect. Yeah, thanks. Okay, now, so this ultimately builds like how I can have an early numbering over here. Okay, in my let's just say uh, root view, right? Because I created a number over here, I can see, okay, this particular number just got assigned to this. How about let's just say this record? So 4139 just got something, correct? Now, for example, I'm going over here and I'll say that I would like to, for example, click on create and create a new record over here. Yeah, maybe I have not done any object-based design, but I'll just go back and say, hey, this is the number which is not assigned. So my booking does not have a number as assigned. I might click on create again. It says the key value has already been used. Why is that the case? Because like we had the situation for travel, my booking might also have some sort of a situation which says that, okay, the travel ID and booking ID, this combination should be unique. You have a travel ID 4139, but that 4139 has already got a number called 0. Now, I have not said it as 1, 2, 3, or 10, 20, 30, whatever I might be interested in assigning. I have not done that. Next time you try creating a new record, system is trying to create the same record over here with the 0, which is a key which is already in use, right? So ideally, you should also take a requirement measurement to decide how you would like this particular number also to be assigned. Okay, so it's not only on the root level, any of that particular level onto which you would like to assign the number, you can choose the numbering methodology, what you would like to go for. For example, I'll also say early numbering. So what kind of change I can expect into the system? Now, the moment I say early numbering, you won't see anything over here because creation is not allowed directly on this view. Rather, creation is allowed via association. That's the reason you see you are getting a warning over here in this create saying this early numbering has been created, but there is no method which has been implemented for that. Okay, so let's just click on control 1 and I'll double click. And I see a new number, a new method just got introduced. I'll just save this. Okay, I'll just get this, activate. Okay, now if I just go over here and maybe let's just put a cursor on this, or I can say you see the signature. It says that these are early numbering CBA booking. Why it is called CBA? Because it's called create by association. The booking will be created by the association of your travel. That's the reason it's called create by association. That's how the booking is going to get created. And while it is being created, you would like to assign a number. So for numbering of this entity for the creation of a travel slash booking, it means during the creation of a booking, you would like something to happen. Now, if you see over here, you are ultimately getting the same set of input, but let's just look at the structure this time. There is an associated data. Okay. Now, if I go over here and I'll just look at the data, this particular data used to have entities Without any association, I'll just look at the derived type. It has got all the rep properties over here. If I just go over here, I can have some sort of entities. If I click on this, I have got percentage CID reference, which is a reference to my parent, is draft. It means for this particular travel, the target says that, okay, for a travel, as there is a composition, I can have n number of bookings available, and this percentage target over here contains, let's just say, n number of such booking finally. Okay, so here I can have n number of booking data. So the data that you are able to see onto the root, or I can say topmost layer over here, in this particular case, you are getting the data on in a property called percentage target. These are generalized signature of it. Okay, now if I just go over here and look at the output parameter that I'm supposed to pass, I'll just go in map. You're going to get a booking over here. This looks pretty clean and pretty simple and straightforward like we used to have. So the exporting parameter is quite generic. Exporting parameter is very well aligned with what we used to have in travel. But the importing parameter, the source from where you can get the data, is bit nested because my one parent can have n number of records created. So that's the reason you are getting it over here like this. Okay. So if you would like to assign a new number for my booking for my child entity, you are supposed to write the logic so you get the maximum number of maximum booking data from here and then write the logic. Okay. So for example, let's just try to do some tweak over here. I'll just say I would like to assign some map data. So like we did it for the header, let's just try to do it from here as well. I'll just say map unique item number. Okay, for my booking ID. Okay, I'll just simply say map dash and I'll just go with booking. In this booking, what I'm supposed to pass is value hash. And in this particular entities over here, this was our input at this point in time as well. At the earlier point in time, same goes over here. I'll just simply say for ls entities. In entities over here. Okay, now what this ls entity might be containing, let's just put a cursor. Okay, maybe I guess we have to add a bracket, otherwise system will get confused a bit. I'll just put a cursor. It says that, okay, it contains all this thing. Okay, now I have the actual data available in my percentage target over here, which has got the CID which I'm supposed to pass. Okay, so I'll iterate again onto my target as well. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just simply say that for ls item, or let's just call booking, whatever you would like to, and maybe here we'll say that in ls entities percentage target. Okay, so this ls item this time will be a kind of an image of my individual item. That's what I'm supposed to pass to the output. So what I'll do is I'll just simply say that the mapping which I am planning to do over here in my map parameter, I'll just put a cursor, should have a booking. Booking should have this two things which should be coming from my ls item. My travel ID over here should come from my parent data, because by that time someone tried to create a booking, a travel ID would have been assigned. Okay, and suppose that if I say my booking over here, then I will be assigning a booking by writing the required logic. Okay, so I'll just simply say my four properties, percentage CID over here, ls item, percentage CID is draft, ls item, and maybe some sort of draft, and maybe the travel ID, which is nothing but my ls entities, because parent will have that particular numbers assigned. Okay, I'll just simply say ls entities. And the last one, the booking ID, maybe that's the one that you are supposed to pass. So for example, let me just call it as a 1 for now. Okay, we have to again write the logic like we did for the header to determine the latest, or I can say the maximum item number for my item as well. That's a kind of an algorithmic logic or something that you can write, which will help you decide the latest, or I can say the new number. I'll just refresh this again. Okay, maybe let's just, okay, do we have a record available, or maybe we just discard it? Okay, let's just refresh. Okay, so we don't have anything available yet. Click on create. Okay, so we have got 4139. We don't have anything onto the item yet, but if I click on create, okay, we don't have anything on the object page, but maybe if I just go over here, I can see that 4139 just got assigned with number 1 over here. So next time if I go, I should write some logic which will derive the maximum value from here and assign the +1 of it, so that I can rely on that particular latest set of data. Okay, that's the one that I should be doing. And maybe that's the expectation over here. So what I'll do is I'll just simply go over here and write some sort of a logic to do that. Here, the advantage is that if I try to create a new record, okay, so for example, I'll just try to put a breakpoint over here and I'll activate this. Go back. Here I have one number assigned. I'll try to click on create. I'm trying to create a new record and one record already exists, right? So what I'll do is I'll simply say that as a record already exists in the entities over here, in the one, the percentage target over here, you see, just contain what? It just contain the latest number. Let's just say the latest record that was requested for creation. The other one you never got. Okay, you never got the other number, or I can say the other set of data that was created. So you might be interested in knowing that particular data as well. Now there are different ways, right? Like I did earlier, I might opt to let's just say read the data by triggering a select query on draft table, or I might also opt to get the data by some sort of a let's just say language called EML, entity manipulation language, which you can use in order for you to get the data. That's also one of the way for you to get the data, which will ultimately give you the relevant record, and then you can ultimately finalize what are the kind of input, or I can say what is the kind of let's just say data which are available, and based on that you can take your decision. Okay, that's also one of the possibility. So what maybe I can do is I'll just simply go ahead and let's just say, okay, at end of the day, what I'm supposed to do is in this particular booking, I'm supposed to manipulate this particular ID over here to, for example, 2. If I am able to do that, then my system will finally be able to create a record. Maybe system just got timed out, and I doubt by the time record would also have got created. Let's just look at the table. Yeah, it got created. Nice. Okay. Okay, so I have got these 2 records also available. So likewise, I guess as I was able to pass the number 2, I can see second number got generated. But rather than doing the things into debugging, it makes sense for me to write some logic which will do those things for me, right? So what I'll do is I'll try to read the record. Now we read one time via the this one draft table. Let's just try to read the data via some sort of a logic called EML. So we'll write some EML called entity manipulation language, which will allow me writing some sort of a operation, writing some sort of a syntax, which will help me perform some operation on my entity data. When I say entity data, it means on my this BO, there is a root entity, there is a child entity. These two are relevant, related to each other by parent-child relationship. So this particular entity should be able to perform some sort of operation called, let's just say, some sort of a reading of the data, updation of a data, deletion of a data, or some sort of a create of a record, anything. Currently, I am interested in reading the data, saying what is that particular set of data that I would be reading. I have linked to my entity. That's something I would be interested in reading. Okay, the moment I do that, I can expect the system's data also to be responded with. So that's something maybe we would try to read out. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so what we are supposed to do is we are supposed to write a syntax called read entities of. Okay, we'll do that for now. Okay, what it is. So each EML goes with a keyword. Let's just say either it can be read entities or modify entities. These are the two kind of syntaxes you will see. In current scenario, we just need a read EML. While we are writing some determinations or something, we might also need a modify EML. So this read over here is associated with a keyword called read entities. Whereas this particular three operations over here you see, these all are linked with a keyword called modify entities. Okay, so we'll see what it is. I'll just simply say read entities of. When you say of, you are supposed to pass the root node saying each of the BO, right? So this BO has been denoted with ZJFR travel. So because that's a root node of it. So you'll always specify ZJFR means the root node of it. Okay. And you would say that I am currently working on this particular BO. Now, think about scenario, right? I can write the same syntax, I can execute the same logic either via my Fury or maybe during the point in time while I'm editing any of a record which I am currently working on. So I'm already in the context of a business object. Okay. Or maybe I can have some way saying I can have some other program which I would have created and into which I'm trying to write something. Right. So if I am writing my logic in a particular behavior implementation class, okay, which is only going to get executed in the context of a business object, then I can write that read entities of in local mode, saying I am locally executing something while I am sitting inside that particular BO. So only during that BO executions operation, this method won't be method will be executed. I am not explicitly creating an object and invoking this method. Okay, because in local mode is only supported if you call it implicitly. If you try to call this particular syntax from a 30 AC38 program or anything, this syntax will give you a dump because in local mode is only supported while you are within the context of that particular BO during the execution cycle. Okay, that's the idea. Now, why are we even using this if this is so risky? Because when you are saying in local mode, you are saying that locally, if there is some lock which has been acquired, I'm responsible for that. I have acquired that lock. So if you try to update something, system will allow you. Otherwise, what would happen is if something has already been locked, system won't allow anyone else to work on that, right? So you are saying locally, I am the one who is working on that, and you are trying to perform n number of operation at the same point in time. That's the meaning of it. Okay. At the same point in time, you might also feel, or I can say, you might also understand going forward that there is something called feature control which might also come into picture. So when you go with a the feature control's purpose is to control the features which are allowed for a user. Whether I'm allowed to read the data, whether I'm allowed to perform an action, whether I'm allowed to perform a delete operation or n number of other actions, whatever it could be. I can enable and disable it for the users of different groups. Okay. And in order for me to do that, feature control is coming to picture. So if you go via this, multiple execution of this particular thing can be avoided. Anyone has any doubt? Okay. So I'll just go with read entities. I'm reading the data. Then I'll add a keyword. So if you just say control space, it will ask you for entity. What is the entity? I'll just say I am trying to read the travel entity over here, but not directly the travel entity. I am trying to read the travel. Okay. And I'll read the booking of it. So I would like to read the booking data of my travel. Okay. and I would like to, whether you would like to read the all fields or individual fields, I'll say I would like to read the all fields with, you have to pass the corresponding input parameter. I'll just simply say corresponding, maybe let's just pass the key over here, entities. Okay, and you can get the data over here, result data, and maybe I'll just simply say LT bookings. So you just are passing the input parameter of a travel, and you are trying to read the booking which are associated with that. So you are saying entity association by. Okay, so maybe those of you who would have worked on, let's just say in ABAP on HANA, there is also a concept called mesh operations, right? So mesh operation also does the same thing. Internally, it relates multiple shorted table together by a relationship of an association. You can read or perform a number of operation on parent or child depending on based on the input data of another one. So what we are trying to do is we just start reading the bookings information from here, and that's the one that we will get from here as well. I'll just click on activate this time, and maybe we'll see, okay, what are the things it gives us. I'll put a breakpoint on this. Okay, and maybe what we'll do is we'll try to click on create again. Switch to the debugger, LT bookings. Okay, we have got two records. It means system knows that for this one, booking has two booking record has already been created, whereas the one which you are looking for right now over here, which is your I can say this entities, has got one additional record which is under creation. So what you are supposed to assign, I'll just say this LT booking has got a maximum number 2, and you are supposed to assign a maximum number which is plus 1 of it. So I can say 3 is the one that should be assigned to this. Okay, that's the one that you can plan assigning, and then you will be able to work on it. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just simply try to let's just stop this execution for now so that I can write the logic and derive the maximum number out of it. Okay, I think we don't have a new record, got new record available anyway over here, so which is good. And I'll just go over here and try to where it is, see over here, right? I'll try to get the maximum number over here. Okay, so I would like to get the new number. Okay, so I'll just simply say data LV new booking ID. Okay, and here maybe I'll just simply say value hash. Okay, not value. I would like to derive the maximum, right? Maybe let's just try to get the maximum out of this entities, which is this one, and maybe what is the booking ID? This is the one. So I would like to get the new number in this form. Okay, so I'll just get this by reducing the set of data, for example. Okay, I'll just simply say this one. So reduce ideally is the keyword. Maybe in ABAP on HANA, the one who would have started working on this, you would be knowing that purpose of reduce is kind of reducing a set of data into conclusive data. So in the entities which I have, where I have got, so in the bookings where I have got the table set of a data, there are multiple travels. Out of which I would like to get the maximum travel. Okay, so I'll just simply say I would like to initialize data which I can consider as a maximum one. So I'll just simply say, let's just say maximum over here is some sort of I would like to convert some sort of a data into my booking data, for example, 0. Next one, maybe I can go ahead with, I would loop on the set of data that I do have, ls booking. And maybe I'll just go with LT booking this time. So I do have. Okay. Okay, now I have got this. For field, this one, what did just happen? For field equal to this one, for group of field in expected after the. Okay, now what we'll do is after this, we'll assign a next. Because we have said that, okay, I have maximum number 0. Afterward, I'll say, okay, if this is a maximum number, have I got any maximum number other than this one? I'll say, yeah, maximum number, I'll just reassign saying if my maximum, which is ls booking data over here, has got my booking ID. So if my booking ID over here is greater than max, then assign this particular booking ID in the maximum number. Else, just keep the maximum number, whatever we do have. Or you could have done it even simple, just short the record by descending and just get the maximum, get the first record. That's also one of the way. I mean, it's totally on individual how they would write to like to write the logic. Okay, I'll just copy this LV new booking and maybe I can assign this to this one. Provided I don't have a numbers assigned. So I'll just simply say condition when I don't have a booking over here, ID assigned over here. Okay, if LV booking ID over here is initial, then I'll go ahead and assign this one. Else, I'll assign the one which I had. Now, I have to write a then. And second, this new booking is the one which is a maximum till now. I have to increment it. So I'll just increment the number. Okay. So this is the one that you can do. And maybe now we'll see, okay, how the things are going on. I'll just activate this. Okay. I'll just go over here and try to, let's just say, okay, I have debuggers and everything. I'll just put a breakpoint here. Okay, click on create. Okay, here I have got some data, LT bookings, new booking ID, what is it is turning into, let's see. So I have got maximum number 2, I would like to increment it. So I got the number 3 and this 3 number that I got, I would like to assign it to my map booking. And if I just go over here, I can see this number 3 got assigned. I'll just execute this and I'll just go over here and I'll see that, okay, number 3 record just got created over here. Okay, so like this in the early numbering, be it a header, be it a child, anything be it be, I mean, whatever it is, you can just assign, determine a new number and assign it so that your draft can exist at the same point in time for more than one set of a record. At the same point in time, primary keys can also be determined. So anyone is any doubt on this particular early numbering concept for header or item or any of the node of the BO? Okay, no, seems we are good. Okay, thank you. Okay, let me just go back. Now, let's just focus on few more things. Okay, so we have got this thing, maybe I guess as we are dedicating, I can say we are working on the numbering thing right now. And maybe we also started with so-called thing, for example, EMLs, right? Some sort of a entity manipulation language. Okay, now what other requirement can also come up? So for example, I'll just simply say close others. So it's easy for me to focus on the things, those matters. Okay, why it is taking some time. Okay, let's give it a minute. Sorry, maybe it's taking some time. Maybe we have to give it a minute. Okay, by that time, anyone has any doubt, any points to discuss, okay, feel free to unmute.
Sumit, did you give any documentation kind of thing, kind EML, any
No,
PDF or
always
something?
we'll always refer. That's the one that I also mentioned, and maybe I pinged it into the chat on our Teams channel as well. That this is the one that you are always going to refer. That's what I also, not this one, yeah. This is Anna Cloud. Help SAP app. This is the one. This is the one which I always refer, and this is the one maybe everyone is supposed to be. So it ultimately contains all the documentation that you need from a big picture to EML, from development perspective, whatever things that you would need from logic writing perspective, everything is there. Okay. So these are the ones that you are always going to refer to. You will find everything in case there is any sort of update as well. You will ultimately get it from here. We don't have any specific documents created. The cookbook is the one that we ideally refer in RAP. Same CAP has also got its own set of a cookbook. I picked it into the Teams group. If you want, I can ping it into the WhatsApp group as well. That should be fine.
Please put it in the WhatsApp group as well, please.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Okay, maybe there is something I did, since I might have to. Okay, let me just restart the Eclipse. Otherwise, I doubt it's going to respond soon. Okay, maybe it might take some time. Let's just see. Okay, so maybe by the time it comes up, it's loading in background. Um, so have you guys already started working on any kind of a rep projects yet? I mean, maybe in your project or somewhere where you would have already started. What kind of strategy, or like just say, what are the approaches that you guys are going on with? Maybe is it aligned with the one that we are going through, or maybe something different? If anyone would like to share. Excuse me. Okay, so now I think we have got this things back. Okay, I'll just simply try to go into serious
Sumit,
behaviors.
Sumit Subhajit here. In our project, recently we have migrated to RISE, okay? And we are planning
Mm-hmm.
to move, upgrade to 2022, okay? Right now it's 1909, okay?
Okay.
There's a ask from client. They have identified few reports, few
Mm-hmm.
transactional and few normal reports. And they're
Mm-hmm.
asking us to convert it through RAP and make it as Fury. Basically, we don't use anything in GUI. We have exposed everything as Fury,
Mm-hmm.
transactional apps as Fury. But
Mm-hmm.
now the ask is that they wanted to do it through RAP.
Mm-hmm.
They have identified few reports, so we are starting on it.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 or 4 reports they have given us already, and they have a
Okay,
list of 15 more wish lists that has to be built in RAP.
perfect. So what is your approach?
So their approach is maybe they have
No, no.
given
What is
us
your
to
approach?
our
As in,
my approach will be like this. What you are telling is, I mean, basically will be going through this way only. I mean, not started itself, but we have to start
Mhm.
very soon. They have
Okay,
given
okay,
it very short timelines. I mean, within 2 months or something, they are expecting some around 15 reports, starting on first Feb itself. So
okay. Maybe first thing that you might be analyzing is the approach that would fit for you. Data modeling is fine, but post which whether you will go with a managed or unmanaged, that would be the first question. That would be the first feasibility check that you might do in
because
the system.
sir, everything is Z. So out
Doesn't
of
matter,
them,
right?
yeah. So
If everything is Z, right? But still,
yeah.
for example, if I say I have a report which is doing something, then
Hmm.
if the reports are display only report, I'll go with a manage, or let's just say with I also I'm not supposed to take the call whether I'll go with manage or unmanaged. But if it's a transactional one, then definitely I might have to,
Two or three are transactional. Yes, out of
yeah,
maximum is display, but 2 or 3 are transactional.
because display ones are quite straightforward. All you're supposed to do is prepare a right data model, expose, do the annotations, and maybe it will be up and running. But when it
Yes,
comes to
and
transactional,
yes,
your
yes.
transactional logic will be somewhere. When
Hmm.
what you're supposed to do, are you supposed to reuse them or are you supposed to rewrite them? If you are going to rewrite it, you can go with manage, but if you are supposed to reuse it, then you have to go
Hmm.
with unmanaged.
I think reuse because few reports are very high volume. I
Com-
mean, we have already developed AMDPs for them, like purchase register. Okay, it
Mhm,
starts from PO to Myro, so and
mhm.
finance also. So
And
it's a
unmanaged is the
huge.
way out for you.
Yes, yes, that's what I was thinking. So 2 or 3 reports are very high. Aging report, customer aging, purchase register.
Mhm.
So those are very high volume reports.
Correct,
So I
correct.
have to
Yeah,
go through unmanaged, I think.
yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
Okay,
good.
okay,
Thanks for
okay.
sharing.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah, Sumit, I have one more question after Subhijit. See, example for an R3, what we are doing is we are, say, example, they were calling the standard report and getting the data and we're doing some kind of calculations and adding some few fields in that report and displaying it as a kind of display, right? How it is
Mhm.
feasible in RAP.
How it is feasible in CDS?
You have tried to get all the data from that databases, right?
No, no, how it is possible in CDS views. For example, if I say forget about a wrap, because when you think of a wrap, you always think of, let's just say, behaviors and everything, right?
Right, right, right.
Right. But when it comes to, let's just say, I mean, even without existence of a wrap, CDS view used to exist, right? That they
Right.
used to be there. And at that point in time, also you might have felt a need of, let's just exposing some data which are not quite straightforward, which you can derive via a database table, rather some function modules, some APIs, or some complex logic
Exactly.
which you might.
Yes, exactly.
So how you used to do that?
See, something if it is not feasible in CDS, I can go for AMDP, right?
No, but that's true. But let's just say if of what how my UI will invoke it, because my AMDP is
Mm,
a class method, right? My UI can only invoke if it is coming via some sort of OData service. And if you are saying
mm,
you are exposing an OData service via CDS, was
mm-hmm.
there any way which you used to use in order for you to expose such data?
No,
There used to
for
be.
me.
Search with, yeah. In even without existence of a wrap, those things used to exist, and that's the
Mm,
same concept which everyone is also using, because those are CDS layer things, right? They are not
right.
something which just started occurring just because wrap just kicked in. It's
Mm,
there since ages. The moment CDS were used to be there, and you can call it as a, like, you would have heard of certain field called certain persistent field, and one thing you would have heard of something called transient field.
mm-hmm.
Transient, it means something which is not directly stored onto the DB, but they are kind of either a calculated one or something which is derived via some sort of a custom logic. Okay.
Okay.
For that, there is a keyword called virtual. So, for example, these are real field, right? Created by,
Mm-hmm.
or let's just say description, for example, which is
Mm-hmm.
stored into this table. I'm in the underlying table, I'm fetching it. But what if
Mm-hmm.
I would like to get some data via some function module, which might be doing some tweaks and tricks and maybe doing
Yes.
complex thing? I don't want to rewrite it. then create
Right.
a virtual field over here. That's there. Even if you will
Okay, you are
ultimately
telling virtual field like exercise example. I'm telling you that read text, right? So read text, I can call the virtual field. In the method, you can write it, call that function model, do building it, something like that. You are telling, right? Am I right?
perfect. That's how everyone does it in the wrap as well. That's the same thing. That's what I
Okay.
said. In wrap, we don't have any specific thing to handle that because
Mhm.
that those things used to exist onto the CDS layer, and CDS had that capability from the beginning.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll follow the
Okay.
same approach.
Mm. Okay. Fine. Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Now, okay, so what we started using some time back is a EML, right? We understood some sort of a read EML using which I can read the data. Let's just also think of one more scenario. So for example, I'll just go over here and maybe I'll say a simple business use case, a very simple. For example, I am trying to create a record. I'm trying to create a travel. Okay. For example, my travel application is there, which is being used by, let's just say, some sort of a customer. Or maybe there is also one travel application which is being used by my front desk people. So for example, in my airport, if I walk in and say, hey, I would like to have a ticket for, let's just say, some city, uh, definitely as you are walking on that particular, let's just say, reception area, or I can say in the front desk, there are 90% chances that you are trying to get the ticket for the same day, right? So if I try, let's just say, deactivate the debuggers. If I try clicking on a create travel, my expectation will be that my the executive which is sitting over there will always enter the start date over here for today's date, right? Because definitely you are trying to book a ticket for today's date, so there are certain things which are quite evident. Same way, there can be some person, or I can say, if my application is being used by so and so agency, agency ID will also be quite common. I might derive it from somewhere, maybe some sort of a customizing, some sort of a profile parameter, some sort of a custom logic, anything it could be. So there can be few things which I would like to be pre-populated before even my user start working on anything else, just to help them out. So at end of the day, the idea is, while anyone is using my application, we would like to make it in a way that the number of clicks, the number of inputs the user is supposed to provide are minimal. So they can focus on the things that matters to them rather than using our application, right? So such defaulting of the values, some updation of the values based on certain user activity, or some defaulting at the point in time when someone tries to create that, how those all the things can be done. Okay, so all you are trying to do at this point in time is determine a new set of values. Okay, depending on the life cycle, depending on the kind of activity which is being performed by my end user. Okay, so all this set of activities are termed as a determination. Okay, so all you are trying to do is you are trying to determine something, saying, if my user is trying to do this, please specify this value. If he's performing this, then do this. It's like if I say, hey, I am entering a let's just say company code. The company code description field is something which I'm not supposed to ask to my user. If I say company code, definitely company code description is something which I can find from somewhere underlying in the master data, and I can just show it onto the UI, whether my uh, without asking my user to enter it. In the SAP GUI, you would have seen that while you are trying to create some sort of a document, for example, purchase order, the moment you enter a material, short text field is automatically getting defaulted by the material description. Later point in time, the user can go ahead and change it if they want, right? But as an initial help, or I can say in the 90% of the cases, as the materials short, that line item short text is going to be material description, you ideally provide that beforehand. You are determining it beforehand. Okay, that's the idea. So how those things can be achieved? Via some sort of a determinations, I can say. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll try to learn the keyword called determination and how they are implemented. The purpose is quite clear, based on some life cycle of an application, or based on user certain activity, you would like certain things to happen. That's what we can call it as a determination. So for example, if someone is trying to use or I can say create a new travel, I would like to set some initial value. So for example, I would like to set some initial value. I can give a name to my determination. I'll just say set initial values. Okay. At what point in time I would like this to happen? So I'll just say control space. You see, this particular operation can be done whenever some data is being modified or whenever final data is going to get saved onto my persistence DB. Okay. Now on modification, is on modification also considered as a creation? Yeah. The moment you create a record very first time into the draft table as well, that's considered as a modification. You'll just simply say modify. Now, modification can be done either during the initial creation or during the updation or a deletion at any point in time, right? So I'll just say control space, and you will see whether you would like to perform this operation whenever a record is being created, whenever a record is being updated, whenever a record is going to get deleted, or there is any specific field. So for example, as I mentioned, if someone is changing a company code, I would like to change something. Or let me just tell you this, if someone is changing, let's just say my agency ID over here, as he's sitting onto the front desk, customer ID does not matter because I'm going to print the ticket then and then. I'm not going to create the account for my customer. So I'll say if someone is entering agency ID, please default the customer ID as well to the agency ID, same to same. I don't want to anything, I don't want any explicit mention for my customer ID in this case, because the person, the use case that I'm referring to does not take customers so much into account. It's a agency specific. Okay. So for example, let's just go with the first scenario, saying during the creation, I would like to, let's just say default my uh, travel start date as today's date, because 99% of the cases I am going to start the travel on the same day. I'm going to book the ticket only for those days. So I'll say set initial values, determination. It says, okay, it's not implemented. So I'm planning to implement it. So there is a determination where I'll write the logic to set those initial values. I'll just simply say control plus one, get a method. Okay, so now we see over here, it says it created a method, set initial values. How can I get the signature of it? Put the cursor on this, and here we get the set initial values. Now, let's just look at it. Earlier, we used to have these methods, which used to give us what? Entities, which used to give us the whole set of a data, actual travel ID, the booking ID, and the whole data. Same goes over here. Right, it used to give us all the fields information, not only the key parameter of which can be just this 3. Okay, but here when I go with the determination, what can I have? I can have just key parameter of it. And what is a key parameter over here? It is just whether it's a draft or whether it's a travel. A unique identity of a record. That's what it has. That's what it is ultimately trying to give you over here. Okay. Now, if I just go back, other thing that we never discussed is called a changing parameter over here called reported. Now, this reported over here is nothing but a way for you to give any sort of a messages. Okay. So for example, the moment someone tries to, let's just say, create a travel for a back date, a past date. For example, you would like to determine the end date maybe after 7 days or so, but you would also like to warn them that your travel start date is in the past, or you would like to give some error based on your user requirement, right? There are separate validations as well, but during the activity of determination, if you would like to do something like that, then you can ultimately do those things via reported. Now, if I just go over here, you would see 2 things. It has got reported and it has got failed. Okay, what are these things? So if I go in reported, you would have a something called message. So you will give the message over here saying, okay, what is the reason? For example, if I say so and so is invalid, I'll say so and so information is invalid. So my user knows that, okay, there is something issue, some sort of issue with the data, and what is that issue? But I might be working on 1,000 travels at a time. Or let's just say in my single travel, for example, there can be 100 booking IDs, 100 booking lines. If I say some data is invalid in your carrier ID, a flight ID, okay. So which particular line the user who is using the application might look into. So in order for us to identify that in this particular let's just say message, you will assign this travel ID and booking ID. At the same point in time, in the failed one, you will map those key over here. If some sort of a record is failing, if some sort of a record over here is, let's just say, failing, or let's just say having some sort of error message, ideally you are required to populate the failed parameter over here, which are nothing but the key parameters only. So we'll see this when we go with the validations explicitly. But just to let you know that this set initial value will have got two things, just the key parameter. Based on this key parameter, you can decide and determine whole set of values if you want by using the same EML things. At the same point in time, if you are also supposed to, or if you are also willing to return any sort of messages, you can do it via the reported parameters over here. Okay. Now let's just think about the use case that we do have. I can say the one which we just thought of, saying during the creation of my record, I would like to set some initial value. I would like to set, let's just say start date. How I do it into the database, ideally. If I have got the database table, for example, travel table, right? I'll just simply say update some sort of a travel table. Then I'll just simply say, hey, set value over here. For example, my start date equal to today's date. And maybe here we'll specify for which record we are saying. So I'll just say where my travel ID is equal to XYZ. Right. This is how we ideally do it in normal SQL. Same way when I go with a EML, entity manipulation language. One we used earlier was for the reading purpose. This time we are trying to do an update of a data, a draft data. Okay, so we are trying to modify. So we'll go with a modifying entities. So what we'll do over here is we'll just simply say modify entities of what I'll specify the root node. So I'll just say ZJAR and maybe JFR travel. Okay, so I've modified the travel, and then maybe I'll say in local mode because I'm in the context of a business object while I'm working on this. I'll just simply say entity, and maybe now which is that particular entity which I'm trying to work on. So I'll just say I'm trying to update the begin date on my travel entity. So if I just say control space, I'll get the travel and booking. I'll just say travel. Okay, now as I mentioned, if I'm supposed to update something, what are the things which are needed? I already specified update a travel table. Did I specify travel over here? This EML way of specifying the table. Now I am supposed to specify what is the thing that I'm supposed to update, or what is the thing that I'm supposed to do, because I've say modified. Here you would find whether you would like to create, delete, update, or execute some actions as well. I'll just say update. Okay, as you are saying update, what is the thing that you are willing to update? So I'll just simply say, I would like to update. So I'll just specify the fields, and which is a field. I'll just simply say, for example, begin date. I would like to update the start date to something. Okay, what is that something? Because we got the table, we specified it over here. We specified that we are going to update. We specified it over here. The field also we specified. So on the left hand side, we specified start date, which is nothing but a begin date. Now, what is this value coming from? And where I can specify which particular record you are supposed to update. Okay, so for that you are specifying with value. With value, it means you are passing in the input the value that you are willing to update. Okay, now what you can do in this particular case. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just simply say that what have you got in the input of your record? You have got the key parameter over here. This key can uniquely identify your record, which you can use in the where clause. Right here, you see here you have got these two things. On top of it, you have got certain component groups, which are a grouped key parameters. If I say percentage key, which says irrespective of whether my record is in the draft or not in draft, what is the unique identity of my record? I'll just go over here and you will get a travel ID. Okay, but overall, if I would like to uniquely identify my record, this TKY, percentage TKY, which is nothing but my total key, will be used, which says that, okay, this record has got a total key, which is a combination of this. Okay, so whether I can say either you use these two individually, or you can simply specify percentage TKY. The moment you specify percentage TKY, it's as good as passing these two things. This is how rep has been designed. Either you pass these two things into the where clause or just pass percentage TKY equal to percentage TKY and your things will be sorted. Because your percentage TKY is a combination. It's a component grouping. So I'll just simply say percentage TKY over here equal to ls. Okay, but for that we have to loop on that particular data as well. I'll just say ls keys in keys over here. I'll just simply say percentage TKY over here equal to ls keys percentage TKY, right? And you specified that, okay, I should only update the record where my record's primary key combination is matching with the key combination. That's something that you received into the input parameter. Okay, only update that record, not all of them. Okay, then you will say, okay, this update is specified, where is specified, which field I'm supposed to update is specified, but what I should update it with. Okay, then when you say update fields, you are also supposed to pass this fields information, whatever you have specified in the field, the data of it within this particular block. So I'll just simply say begin date I am supposed to specify. So I'll just specify, for example, update it with the side item, which is today's date. Now, the moment you specify, today's date will be used. If you specify anything else as well, that's the data that will be used. You can have either a system data source like I do have, or maybe you can have some other data source which you would like to use also to determine the new begin date. In case this updation fail, I would like to get the messages why it failed. So I can have, like I have a result data over here, same way I can have a reported data, and I'll just say LT reported. So it will give me the reason in case my updation fails over here. And if let's just say I'm trying to update and here there are 50 keys, out of which it failed for 5 of them. So for what all record that just got failed, that's the information I'll get in a failed data over here. Okay, LT failed. Okay. Many a time you might also be interested in passing on this information to my end user, saying that, okay, this information updation failed because of XYZ reason, which my EML would have generated. So at least my user is not clueless, or I can say on my UI, I will get something which tomorrow, let's just say if I am supposed to analyze, I can do those things easily. So I'll just can fill the return reported, fill the return reported parameters with the EML response. So I can also say that the reported that I do have in my method, I can simply say that I would like to pass all this thing, okay, corresponding over here, as it's a deep structure, as you have seen. I'll just pass the thing over here. I can do this as well. So what this will do is, this will ultimately pass the messages in case the updation fails and some messages has been raised, the same messages will be passed on to the end user. Okay, that's what we are doing. I'll just activate this, and now we'll see how the things are going to work. So we got all these things from the input, we updated those things. Okay, and now, okay, behavior is something which is yet to be activated. So definition did not found. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll just go over here and I'll just simply discard this, for example. Okay, and I'll just simply try to create a new record now. Okay, I'll just simply say create. As you can see, my 4139 got determined, but at the same point in time, my start date also got determined with the current date, because that's what I specified over here, saying that during the modification of the record, while my record is being created, please update this particular set of data over here, which is nothing but a begin date. That's what you're trying to say, and hence this information just got updated. Okay, so for any of the non-key field value, you would like to default them before even the screen starts loading, before even my user sees this for the very first time. You can write it into the determination like this. Okay, any doubts till now? Okay, perfect. Okay, now another thing, maybe on the determination itself, let's just go with that. So for example, the other use case which I mentioned of the determination, right? So there are pretty good chances that my application which is being used currently is being used by some front desk person, some agency person, right? So for them, what matters is a agency ID. Okay. So what they do is they'll enter an agency ID and I can expect that my customer ID, which will not create it, but I would like to default the same. For example, if someone is saying agency ID is 234, I would like to default the same thing over here in my customer ID. So without even my user doing anything, customer ID is also getting defaulted. So I am saying my agency ID is equal to customer ID, but I am not supposed to enter it twice. A random use case, maybe, right? It can come up. So in case I would like to design in this way, saying the moment someone enter an agency ID, the same thing should also get defaulted in my customer ID, then I might call it as a one more determination, because what I would like to do is I would like to auto populate my customer ID, correct? But at what point in time I'll say I would like to auto populate it on modification of the data, but will I, or I can say, am I interested in triggering this modification during creation? Not really, right? Because during creation, no one would have entered anything. Why would someone enter a agency ID if I don't have those things available already? During deletion, also, it does not make sense. During updation, if I update, let's just say my start date, am I supposed to go ahead and update my customer ID? Not required, right? Because I am touching this one, I am not touching this field. If I update any other fields, also it does not make sense. It only makes sense for me to update my customer ID whenever I'm changing only the agency ID, because the requirement is to set the customer ID exactly as that of the agency ID, right? So what I'll do is I'll just simply say that this field should get modified via the determination when this particular field has been modified. So I'll say that when a field is being modified, I would like to do something. Okay, and that's what you will call it as a this particular determination activity. Now you can have more than one as well if you would like to go with combination. Okay, so for example, when my let's just say start date and end date are changed. Okay, so if someone is changing just start date and just putting a cursor over here, I would like to get something updated. If someone is changing just end date and putting a cursor outside, I would like to get something updated. But if someone is changing start date and afterward changing ended, after both of them are updated, or I can say either of them I updated, I would like to update the booking fee. Because for example, if my travel is for 1 day, I would like to charge the booking fee as $10. If it's for 2 days, I would like to charge this for $20. So I might have some logic on that line. Okay, I might be interested in writing some logic around that. So I can have more than one fields as well. Okay, so I can specify more than one fields. I can specify individual field depending on my business requirement. And based on that, system will detect whether this particular field on which I have just put a particular condition has got modified. Yes, then only your this code block will get executed if the before and after value for that field is getting changed. If this field is untouched, this particular code block won't get executed. As simple as that. Okay, so for example, I'll just go over here and I'll just say auto populate customer ID. Okay, now at this point in time, what I'm supposed to do? I am supposed to update I am supposed to update my customer ID over here the moment my agency ID field get updated. And what I would like to update it with? I would like to update it with the customer ID. Okay. So am I getting customer ID into the input? If I just go in the key, what I'm getting? I'm just getting the key parameter. I don't have any clue where my customer ID is and what is the value for that. So what I'm supposed to do at the first, I'm supposed to read the customer ID. Okay, I'll just say read the data entered onto the screen for customer ID. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just simply say read entities of ZJF are travel in local mode. Okay, and then what I'll specify, which entity I am supposed to read? Travel. Okay, so I'll read the travel data over here. right? And what is the data that you will try to read? Now you have got both the options. If you would like to read all the fields, read all the fields. If not, you can go by the individual fields as well. Okay. Now let's just read all the fields. That's also fine. Corresponding, and maybe I'll just simply specify key, the one which I got into the input, and I'll just get the result data, and I'll just get the travel data over here. So these are the travels which are available. So based on the key that I just got all the travel information this time in my LT travels. All the data over here, including the agency ID. Now what I am supposed to do is, I am supposed to update this information in my output. In my, let's just say, customer ID field. So I'll just say if my LT travel is not initial, like the one we did. What did we do? Earlier we set the begin date. Now this time we are supposed to set what? Customer ID, right? So I'll just simply say, oh, what's my customer? Okay, here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just simply say update the agency ID with customer ID. Okay, so I'll just simply say modify entities of, and I'll just simply say ZJF R travel in local mode entity travel, and maybe we'll update certain fields. What are those fields? I'll just say I would be interested in updating my customer ID this time. Okay, and this customer ID, what I'll update it with? I'll just say with value, and what is that value that I might be interested in? So I'll just simply say that if I have got all the travel data, maybe I'll just say travel in LT travels. Then for that particular record, whatever key parameter is there, so I'll just simply say percentage TKY over here, LS travel. Okay, percentage TKY, and I would like to pass my customer ID value from my agency ID. So I'll just say LS travel over here, agency ID, right? I just got that. In case this updation failed, get me some messages. Why it just failed? Reported data, LT, reported. And in case certain record failed, let me just also know what are the record that just got failed. So during the debugging, if I would like to know, then I can easily do those things. And at the end of the day, I would like to map certain thing, fill output messages. So this is optional, but it makes sense for you to pass this so user also knows what's going on, right? I'll just simply say corresponding hash deep and maybe some sort of LT reported. Okay, and now let's just say format this code. So I'll just activate this, and I would like to let's just say also open my draft table, which is this one, right? And view the data of it. Okay, I have got this 4139 and this one, and I'll just simply discard this. Okay, and I think I won't have this record any longer. Go back, click on create. And what I have got, I have got a new record created with the begin date as specified as a today's date. Now what I'm supposed to do is I am supposed to specify my agency ID. For example, let's just specify 234. And the moment draft get updated, the moment you get the message called draft updated over here, you will ultimately expect my customer ID to be defaulted. I don't see it happening, isn't it? Let me just go into the table, refresh. It got updated over here. It got updated into the table, but somehow it did not appear on my UI. Okay, let me just refresh this. So I manually refreshed and I can see this value appearing now. But is this what I'll tell my user saying, okay, if you change this, please refresh your browser and you will see the data appearing. Not a good idea, right? But why it did not appear on the UI at the first place? So the idea is, the moment you say you are creating something, what call will get triggered? Post call. The moment you are changing your any of your field, for example, agency ID, what call will it trigger? Merge call. What is the response of a merge call? Nothing, just a status code, whether it's a success or error, 200 or 400 or 500 or something. Will it respond back with the data saying, hey, after you change this, this field got updated. So please refresh this data. Can you expect this particular data in response of a merge call in a REST API? Not really, right? That's not how REST API works. So if the system does not trigger a get call on my data that has been updated, those data won't appear onto the UI, right? So what you are supposed to do is you are supposed to trigger an explicit get call if any of such a data has been updated which has an impact on any other data. For example, if agency change of an agency ID has an impact on customer ID, logically you should trigger a get call the moment someone changed the agency ID as well. But if someone changed the start date, does it have any impact on any other fields? No. Then you are not supposed to trigger a get call. Okay. And this get calls technically, in terms of a wrap, in terms of let's just say Fury, it's termed as what? As side effects. Okay, they are termed as a side effects. So when I say I'm changing one field, I'm doing something and something else should happen, then I'll call it as a side effects. So I'll just write keyword called side effects over here. And here, while you are specifying side effect, all you are supposed to do is you will simply specify what is on what activity what should happen. Okay, I'll just simply say if I'm executing something, something else should get updated. Then I'll trigger a side effect on action. The situation that we are currently dealing with, we are dealing with an field. So I'll just simply say that if my field over here, which is nothing but an agency ID, if this agency ID is going to get changed, okay, if someone is changing my agency ID, then my whole header data should get updated. So I'll just simply say field agency ID is going to affect what? So you can say, is it going to affect some field? I'll just say, yeah, it might affect some customer ID field, for example. Then you can say this. So what would happen is the moment someone change agency ID, a separate get call will get triggered just to fetch the customer ID. Okay, let's just try this out once. Then we'll see the other alternative that you may also try to go for. But the specification of this is sufficient. I mean, is this sufficient for me to, let's just say, have the side effects working? Let's just see. I'll just refresh this. Guys, just give me a moment. Okay, just a second. Hey guys, sorry for the interruption. Okay, so what I was saying is maybe we refresh the screen. Now I'll just simply check the network call, right? Now what I'm supposed to do is I'm expecting a get call. So if I just simply say I'm changing this, right, 234, and I'm just changing, let's just say 2345. The moment I change this, right, what the system is doing is system is triggering some sort of a merge call, right? And then some sort of a prepare call. But I don't see any sort of a follow-up get call over here, right? Because I wrote, and the same thing over here, I don't see any data also getting updated because I wrote the side effect. But any capability that you add over here, in order for that to start working, you have to use a keyword over here called, like you are using use draft, same way you have to use side effects. The moment you do that, then only this capability will start working. Because till the time this capability is under definition, under development, it's not exposed. Okay. Now if I just go back over here and I'll refresh this. Okay, or for example, if I just try changing this, for example, I'll just change this to 123. I'll just put a cursor outside, and you see this information just got changed immediately. What's the reason? Because if I just now go into the network tab, what I'll see is that if I change this, the network call, I'll just simply say 1234, put the cursor outside. You see, system triggered a merge call. Afterward, as you have written a side effect saying if there is some sort of a change, please get back the customer ID. It says travel this. Can you give me the customer ID? So just for that customer ID, a get call just got triggered, and that's the reason you see the updated data over here. Now, if you would have written this thing in a bit different way, okay. So for example, rather than saying this, saying it affects only one field, if I would have written saying it does not affect only one field, it might affect whole data. So I'll just simply say affect, and maybe I'll just say $self. Self has been whole entity of which agency ID is part of. Okay. So I'll just activate this. So what would happen is the moment you change agency ID, a get call will get triggered on whole entity. Okay, now if I just simply refresh this in order for that thing to work. Okay, now if I just simply on this network call, and I'll just simply say, for example, 567, the cursor outside. Okay, what did just happen? Okay, yeah, so if you see 567, this particular customer ID also got updated, but this time, if you observe the calls, right, backend calls, it says a merge call got triggered, which ultimately updated your agency ID over here. But on the response, your travel also got a select call on $select star because you said update all the properties. Okay. So depending on what is the effect, what is the effect that you are expecting, what are the changes that you are affecting, you can define change of what field should have affected what kind of information. Now this, how many side effects I can have in my application? N number of them. Here you can specify fields, and in this, I mean, in the behavior block, you can specify side effect, and you can specify the relationship. N number of side effects can be specified separated by semicolon. Okay, so many a time you might understand that, okay, in order for my field to get updated, I'm using side effect. Not really. That's not what side effect is. Side effect is just the get call. The updation of a data is anyway going to happen via your determinations. Okay. But after it has been determined, in order for it to start appearing on UI, a follow on get call is required, and which is ideally driven by a side effect. And that's what it is. Okay. Anyone has any doubt on early numbering, determination, side effects, any of the things we have covered so far?
Sumit, it is not impacting performance, right? If it is more a number of side effects or response, each
It's
time it will.
what do you think? I think it is. Okay, so the
Yeah,
idea
that's what
is
I'm telling.
it's definitely going to impact a performance, but that's the reason I shown you both alternative. Ideally you should keep it minimal. Definitely I
Yeah.
cannot say my end user saying, hey, this might impact the performance, so do it on your own, refresh the page, but I won't do it. Rather what I should do is I should go with a minimal approach.
Yeah, for
Whatever minimal
specific
thing I'm
fields.
exactly, yeah. So what would happen is the get call will be quite lightweight and your
Hmm.
response will also come into a bit less time, correct?
Hmm. Okay, fine. So in that case, now you are putting populate, say example, you are entering the agency ID, right? I just
Mhm.
want to write a select query, then I just write a select query based on after the read entity YAML, get the value, select query, and pass it in the variable, assign that variable. Is it right?
Mm,
The
come again.
what you did is, I say example, once you enter the agency ID 123, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again,
Mm-hmm.
you reassign the same value into the customer ID as well, right?
Correct, yeah. Correct.
So, but I don't want that. I want to hit the database and get that value and populate that value into that field. In that case, I have to write the first read the EML, then get the value, use the select query, and populate the variable. Is it right? That is the way we have to do.
So in case of a determination, yeah, that's how you have to do. But the
Uh-huh.
select query to get the response back, this is something which system does automatically. It won't execute, it won't hit any of your ABAP code.
Yeah,
Now
no,
what
I am
we are
I'm not talking about side effect. I'm talking about the auto population. You wrote that, right?
yeah,
That
auto population,
data.
yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. You have to read the data because you don't know what has been entered by the user. Now how you
right,
can read it via the buffer, and buffer can be read by the readml.
right.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Then based on that, after read YAML, I can use the select query, populate that and in the field.
No, but you are not after population, which is this one, right? So, for example, after read, I
Huh?
modified this. Now, afterward, I am not supposed to anyway read anything. No, I have
No, no,
updated
no.
this in.
No, no. What I'm telling, say example, go up, auto population. You just put that. See, you are just populate, get the field, and again assign that same field in the customer ID, right? In
Correct.
that
Yeah. Correct.
update. Now,
Correct.
my question is, see, my 123 is my agency ID. My customer ID
Correct.
based on the agency ID is might be XYZ. I have to hit
Okay.
the database, not from
Mm-hmm.
the here itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know, say example, I have the other custom table for each some master table based
Correct.
on
Yeah.
that, right? I get
You
it,
can do that.
right? That's what I'm
So,
asking.
so
You
you are
can,
saying if you have any mapping table or something, you can definitely get that based on this
uh,
particular one, what should be the
right,
right
right,
mapping, and
right.
you can assign this rather than in
Yes.
my use
Uh,
case, it was simple assignment. In your case,
yeah,
you
yeah,
would
yeah,
like to
yeah. I
get
got
for
it.
this
Yeah, yeah.
agency, what is the actual customer ID? You can select it and maybe pass it
Right,
on.
right,
Perfect. Yeah.
right, right.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Makes sense.
Kind of what you do it in your normal ABAP, right? On
Exactly. Yeah.
selection.
Exactly. Yeah. That's so
I'm
those
just
select
comparing
statement
how
definitely
you
can.
are, how you are doing it in a normal ABAP, how it is. That's what I'm just comparing it for my understanding, right?
Perfect. Yeah. I understand. I mean, in EML, what we call it as a read, internally it's
Yeah,
nothing but a select query. Same way there is a modify entity, which is nothing but a modify
right,
statement.
right, right. Yeah,
That's the
okay,
same thing. Correct. Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Okay. Then I think we all are clear. Maybe it's 10:48. We'll call it a day. We'll come back tomorrow. Maybe we'll continue with the rest of the stuff that we do have. But meanwhile, I mean, just a suggestion as a friend, try to give it a hands-on. This thing looks quite simple, but the moment you do it, maybe you might run into error. So in case you run into any error, maybe we can have it discussed. Okay.
Yeah, Sumit, I have a issue in my Eclipse. I'm not able to install it. I just connect you sometime.
Maybe we can connect sometime, maybe towards the beginning of next session, if that's fine.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so maybe we'll spend some time in case you guys have any issues during the system setup. We'll try it out. What is the system you are using? Mac or
No, it's Windows.
Windows?
Uh,
Mostly there should not be an issue. No worries. Maybe you can.
yeah,
We can have a look at it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining. Then we'll see each other
Yeah.
tomorrow. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.